Hello everyone, welcome to the Lit Luz Festival live magazine show. I'm Miguel Jiménez, I'm the director and founder of the Lit Luz Book Club.
And my name is Camila Foreman. I'm a board member of Make Literary Productions, the organization that puts on the Lit Luz Festival every year.
This year we've had online events and in-person ones just like this one tonight, and it's going to be a special night.
It is.
In its ninth cycle, the Lit Luz Festival tries to bring together artists to create new art through international collaboration. And this year's theme is revision. So we're re-envisioning the arts in light of the pandemic. We're also reconsidering the canon, and we're also reconsidering and reimagining language for the future.
All right, so let's get down to business. Here's how tonight will work for some of you. So in the Newsprint Festival program, there's a QR code, which will lead you to, I'm so glad you guys are actually following along and going to that QR code. So it'll lead you to a link to our website, which has 3 important services that we're offering tonight. So first, you can get a link to the Live Voice app, through which you can listen to or watch the event and hear live interpretation, depending on the channel and language that you prefer, via your smartphone and of course your personal headphones for everyone's enjoyment. These channels also contain visual descriptions of the action that will be happening on stage, and I want to send a special shout out to Pedro Pablo Marin and Angelica Devilla for offering these services tonight. If you have trouble accessing it, just wave your hand and someone will come find you and help you. And then the last thing you can find via the QR code is, in the link to our website, is translations of the various literary pieces, so you can read it in the language of your choice. And of course, we will give you a moment to start typing.
I think like 30 seconds should be enough.
I don't know, I had fat fingers and it took me a while to get online.
Well, we can catch up because I haven't seen you in a minute. It's been a minute.
It's been a little more than a minute, Miguel. But it's so good to see you and be back in Chicago and be back here for the highlight of my arts and cultural calendar each year, Lit and Luz.
Yes, and it's happening at a time where the weather is kind of nice.
I know. It's one of the things I really love about Chicago is that all the trees are coming down and yet somehow it's in the 70s the first week of November.
I came here early, so I didn't wear a coat. I don't know if it's still cold out there. Did you wear a coat?
I didn't, because I was like really happy to put on the party dress, this one, for probably the last time this year. So.
You think they're done?
People are looking at us.
They said no.
I see some thumbs up. Well, I think we have a special guest.
We do have a special guest, so I want to introduce a special guest. We have a special guest to open up tonight's event. They're a really special guest, so special that I'm going to read just off the page here because their accomplishments are incredible. And they're going to speak a little bit to that importance that I kind of mentioned earlier about the exchange that this festival makes happen between our neighboring countries, the US and Mexico. Ambassador Reina Torres Mendevil took office as Consul General of Mexico in Chicago on July 14th, 2019. During her diplomatic career, she held various positions in the Mexican Ministry of Foreign Affairs, including General Director for Latin America and the Caribbean, Deputy General Director for International Policy of Human Rights, and Deputy Chief of Staff to the Secretary of Foreign Relations. She was posted as Deputy Chief of Mission in the Mexican Embassy in the Czech Republic, and as political liaison in the Embassy of Mexico in the United States. Ambassador Torres Mendevil also served as General Director for Protection of Mexicans Abroad, and before her current position in Chicago was Consul General in San Antonio, Texas. Ambassador Torres Mendevil was a resident fellow at Harvard University's Weatherhead Center for International Affairs and participated in the Hemispheric Security Program at the Inter-American Defense College in Washington, D.C. She graduated from Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México and holds a master's degree in international relations from the London School of Economics. Please give a warm welcome to Ambassador Torres Mendevil.
Thank you so much. I apologize for that long introduction. We could have made it shorter. I promise it's going to be shorter, my words, than what Miguel so kindly read. Buenas noches a todas y todos. Me da mucha emoción estar aquí en el festival, pues después de estos años complejos por los que hemos pasado todos. I certainly appreciate the beauty of Lit Luz. I remember the first time I met Sarah, we met at the consulate, and she started talking very enthusiastically about Lit Luz. And immediately I bought it. She didn't have to say anything else. This festival represents all the good things that could happen and that are happening between our two countries. Sometimes, you know, in capitals, in Mexico City and Washington DC, there is a lot of talk. But what truly brings life to this bilateral relationship is what happened between the people, artists, students, you know, people coming back and forth, businesses, families getting together when they can, of course. So many things happen between our two countries that are not reflected in what you read in the newspapers. So that's why Lit Luz is really an outstanding opportunity for two countries to come together in the most beautiful way. That is art, literature, creativity, and not only through literature, but you know, this festival is rich enough that brings together other expressions of art. So you can enjoy music and you can enjoy dance. I was talking with my part of my team, Claudia, that is the Council for Cultural Affairs, and we were saying, you know, what a good eye Lit Luz has had in the past festivals, because the artists that participate are always good. You know, perhaps you hear from them for the first time in Lit Luz, and then it turns out to be this outstanding writer that, you know, shows and creates more things. So I only expect good things to come out of Lit Luz. Así es que me da mucho gusto estar en esta ocasión. Qué bueno aquí con ustedes. Qué bueno que este festival ya tiene, pues ya va para ¿cuántos años? Desde el 2015, si no me equivoco, en el que está presentando un espacio de creación de oportunidad. Pero lo más bonito es que es un espacio en el que nuestros países se encuentran, nuestros pueblos se encuentran, nuestras naciones se encuentran. Y creo que eso es lo más rico que nos deja a todos, en un espacio que no tiene cosas negativas, que solo es de creación, de arte y de disfrute. So, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for committing your time and coming. And please enjoy. Thank you.
Ambassador Torres Lindaville for those beautiful words to welcome us to tonight's festival. So, Miguel, my friend, what can the audience expect?
Okay, I don't want to give too much away because there is a kind of like surprise element to tonight's performances, but I'll tell you that for the past few months, the participants of this year's festival, which include writers, visual artists, dancers, sound artists, have been working together to create new artworks collaboratively. So that's what you're gonna see tonight. There's 6 of these performances, and they're gonna be pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, so this is new art made explicitly for you across geographical borders, for some of y'all, across town, across disciplines, across languages. Across everything. And I think the last thing that needs to be crossed is us getting across the stage.
So let's do that.
Yeah, let's get going.
Get the show going.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Changing color of water in response to the introduction of chemicals, an imprecise dictation, an icicle from the index finger all the way to the brain. Yellow color in water in response to the introduction of chemicals, an imprecise dictation, an icicle from the index finger all the way to the brain. Increased levels of plastic in water in response to the introduction of plastic, an imprecise dictation, an icicle from the index finger all the way to the brain. Decreased levels of fish in water in response to the introduction of chemicals, an imprecise digitalization, an icicle from the index finger that reaches towards but never reaches the brain. Changing weight of water in response to the introduction of water, an imprecise dictation, an icicle from the water all the way to the brain. I saw salt in water in response to the introduction of salt in water, an imprecise dictation, an icicle from the index finger all the way to the brain. Sound of water call and response with chemicals, an imprecise dictation, an icicle from the index finger all the way to the other index finger. Changing color of water in response to the introduction of water into the city, an imprecise dictation of what is hurting in the space between the finger and the brain. Changing color of water in response to the introduction of water into the city, dictation of the subway now covered in something like an icicle. The thought that water will be akin to reading or akin to chemicals, an imprecise dictation, passing the index finger over grass as it yellows. I watch a change of color in response to the introduction of chemicals, dictation of the precipice, an icicle cutting the index finger, an icicle cutting the brain. Changing span of water in response to the introduction of heat, an imprecise dictation, no icicle, no brain. Changing span of water in response to the introduction of heat, the lie of dictation, an icicle that takes the fall, piercing the heel. Decreased levels of oxygen in water in response to the activity of other animals, an imprecise dictation, the impatience between the hand that pulls the curtain and the curtain itself. Decreased levels of plankton in water in response to the introduction of chemicals, the eager disposition of the open mouth, expecting plankton. Boat along the water where someone looks back expectantly in response to chemicals, icicles, dictation, lost souls, salinization. Changing color of water as it rises, as it evaporates, an imprecise dictation, an icicle from the index finger all the way to the brain. Reflected in rising water, the gasp between clouds, an upside-down bird, an imprecise dictation, where an icicle is melted by days of rain. Increasing levels of chemicals in water, the sound of a can coming back to the shore, an imprecise dictation, an icicle from the index finger all the way to the brain. Changing color of water in response to the introduction of chemicals, an imprecise dictation, an icicle from the index finger all the way to the brain. The sky over the canal, how I responded with anger to what I saw floating in the water, an imprecise dictation, an icicle from the index finger all the way to the brain. It was like driving a long time. A cut on the left foot just before the big toe, with a friend, maybe at night, and thinking together. A cut on the face on the right cheek, in a form of quiet. A cut below the belly button. It was easier than I was told. A circular sore on the arm, maybe ringworm, and I quickly made myself scarce. A wide scrape above the right eye. Imagined myself in a movie where I died. A deep gash in the left calf, which will require stitches, and came back again as steam or as silicone. A beet red rash going up the back to the nape of the neck. It was like driving a long time. A cut opening the right eye. I pictured my friend forgetting me. Various scuff marks along both knees. I pictured a house floating on water. A deep narrow wound on the left side reaching the diaphragm. I pictured rubbing alcohol poured into the canal. If I put my hands in water, if I put your hands in tar. If I put my hands in water, if I put your hands in tar. If I put my hands in water, if I put your hands in tar. If I put my hands in water, if I put your hands in tar. If I put my hands in water, if I put your hands in tar. If I put my hands in water, if I put your hands in tar. If I put my hands in water, if I put your hands in tar. If I put my hands in water, if I put your hands in tar. If I put my hands in water, if I put your hands in tar. If I put my hands in water, if I put your hands in tar. If I put my hands in water, if I put your hands in tar. If I put my hands in water, if I put your hands in tar. If I put my hands in water, if I put your hands in tar. If I put my hands in water, if I put your hands in tar. If I put my hands in water, if I put your hands in tar. If I put my hands in water, if I put your hands in tar. If I put my hands in water, if I put your hands in tar. If I put my hands in water, if I put your hands in tar. If I put my hands in water, if I put your hands in tar. Changing color of water in response to the introduction of chemicals, an imprecise dictation, unproven, obsessed with, smoke over the city. Changing weight of water in response to the introduction of weight, an imprecise dictation, unproven, obsessed with, smoke over the city. Churning between marble pillars, water responding to its weight, an imprecise dictation, unproven, obsessed with, smoke over the city. Churning between steel images, water responding to its weight, an imprecise dictation, unproven, obsessed with, smoke over the city. Separation is impossible in response to chemicals, to weight, an imprecise dictation, unproven, obsessed with, smoke over the city. Reduction is impossible in response to chemicals, to water, an imprecise dictation, unproven, obsessed with, smoke over the city. Changing color of water in response to the introduction of chemicals, an imprecise dictation, unproven, smoke in obsessions over the city. Fingers changing in water, in chemicals, a response to weight, an imprecise dictation, unproven, smoke in obsessions over the city. I see spots in my vision, lead and ice, tar and cream, awful weight, an imprecise dictation, unproven, obsessed with, smoke over the city. Variations on plastic and water, a response to water, an imprecise dictation, unproven, obsessed with, smoke over the city. A slow darkening tar and water, weight of smoke, awful weight, an imprecise dictation, unproven, obsessed with, smoke over the city. Something clear gaining color in response to the introduction of chemicals, reddening, unproven, obsessed with, smoke over the city.
The question is how to be your own human and no one else's, and in your own time. The world and ourselves don't have to be comprehensible to cohere, to come together in a kind of unified multiplicity. I don't have to know what the bird's song means to be made whole by it, any more than I have to know how to turn and plane a board to adore the woodwork of a floor, any more than I have to know who you are, your name and first desires, to be grateful and elated that you exist. Understand, there's the moon, and then there's the moon in the moon, the mystery that presents itself and the real mystery underneath. What seems to be the riddle of your life, and what the riddle of your existence actually is. It seems elliptical, this mystery, because it does turn back on itself. It is itself a turning back, a turning in, the face in the mirror that is and is not your face, is the thing and the representation of the thing, an interpolation of light and glass, and today's dysmorphia, minor or grand. I've been alive for as long as I can remember, and it hasn't gotten any less shocking. The end of everything is a farewell to petty nihilism, a refusal to be cowed by ordinary notions of time that keep us desperately racing toward our graves, accumulating the stuff that makes us feel bigger than death, or so far from death as to be safe. Stuff. Safety. There's no world without stories, and no stories in which this world does not end. How can you love a world you know is going to end? How could you do anything else? The part of the tree torn away by the storm will only become apparent when the leaves fill in. It's too large to grow back in my lifetime. I will never stop mourning what I've lost, but I will make a home for it here, amid the blooming. We will never be what we were again, and that is a fact we can use to salt the earth or our food, use for ruin or nutrient. The end of everything is the beginning of everything else. Each time I've been remade, I've chosen to come back softer. It may be different for you. Still, I recommend this, to remain very tender to yours and the world's becoming. Does all beginning require chaos? Does all chaos have beginning in it? What did we think was going to happen? That our lives would just be handed to us, pies off the assembly line? The end of everything means consuming this life, skin and tendon, right down to the bones, then using those bones to build a sanctuary, a cathedral where we kneel and keen until we are incense, smoke, joining the air which is everywhere and everything. You know how just before the sun sets, when the pansies are at their most fragrant, the light can make anything gorgeous. Your hand on a dog's back, the side of a building, a puddle. That's how you are. All possibility. All your flaws and damages, possibility. All your secret dreams and sacred habits, possibilities. Doors opening into rooms with doors opening into rooms. All your names and knots and tides, every vein and wrinkle, each accidental altar, every unmarked burial, maps to the fertile, leashless, spellbinding interior. It is delicious to be out of sync with a system that wants us to bend to its order in order to own us. This is why the free make our own rituals. Creating rupture against the patterns that formed us keeps us from leading elliptical lives that loop in and in on themselves, making us smaller and smaller until we disintegrate, evaporate, disappear. I don't want to disappear. I don't want you to disappear either. Let's stay here as long as we can.
The Elegant Menace. Chicago, 2 de noviembre de 2022. Desde la ventana del 10º piso en que me encuentro, dirijo la mirada a la avenida. Sobre la calle, en la acera opuesta, un grupo de gente rodea a un individuo que sale del edificio que se encuentra justo frente al mío. Alguien famoso, pienso. Aguzo la mirada y sí, tengo razón. Es Fantomas. La gente se amontona alrededor suyo, eufórica. Mujeres y hombres quieren verlo de cerca, tocarlo, comprobar que es real. Fantomas en silencio firma autógrafos. Sus gestos son amables a pesar de su rostro inexpresivo. Observo la escena por unos segundos. Pasado el interés inicial, levanto la mirada. En la esquina, ajeno al tumulto, veo como un niño suelta al aire un globo azul y lo mira alejarse hasta volverse indistinguible en la inmensidad del cielo.
1. We had both grown up with Fantomas. Fantomas, the French anti-hero that was famous in Latin America, but not so much in the US. I'm writing this in English, but since my memory of this anti-hero is in Spanish, lo siguiente, creo, es aclarar quién es Fantomas in Spanish. Fantomas es un antihéroe. Fantomas es una amenaza elegante. Fantomas es un Batman francés creado en 1911, el protagonista de muchos libros, películas y cómics. Fantomas es un ícono pop revivido en México durante los años 60. Fantomas es el protagonista de una historieta, La inteligencia en llamas, en la que aparece junto a Julio Cortázar, que Cortázar usaría, a su vez, para escribir un experimento literario, Fantomas contra los vampiros multinacionales. So, Fantomas is like our always changing relationship with nostalgia. Fantomas and his different incarnations. First with a chapeau, a black top hat. Then with a blue mask. Finally, faceless. Fantomas, entonces, like a ruthless and particularly elusive anti-hero, but also charmingly fake. F for Fantomas. F for fake. 2. The original nostalgia was an illness that expressed itself in a specific symptom. Pain, algia, for the home, nostos. The word was the invention of Johannes Hofer, a military doctor. Hofer treated Swiss soldiers who, after long periods in foreign lands, suffered headaches, sleeplessness, heaviness of heart, hearing voices, and seeing ghosts. The cure for nostalgia was to send the soldiers back home. Other cultures were less kind. The Russians, for example, bury alive anyone who shows symptoms of longing. And in this part of the world, nostalgia has never been an illness but something to be consumed. 3. Some of these notes come from a night I spent at the emergency room after an accident. I only had my phone with me. I was bored with myself, tired of looking at the ceiling. So after several text messages with my wife about our newly born daughter, I started to jump from YouTube video to YouTube video to YouTube video until one algorithm sent me to a playlist under the name Mellow Days, 80s Japanese city pop. The songs were addictive, exciting, melancholic, and warm at the same time, purely from the 80s, a type of music that instantly grabs you with its artificiality. I spent most of the night in a lo-fi, catatonic state until I realized that I had been washed by a complete and overpowering wave of nostalgia. There was, though, something off. Why was I so nostalgic about these songs? I had never lived in Tokyo from the mid-70s to the early 90s, when Japan gracefully rode the wave of prosperity. But I nonetheless felt dragged to that time, a time when Japan was a strong country, a country that didn't need a future, because his present was already perfect. That night, at the emergency room, listening to city pop, I became conscious of a different kind of nostalgia. This wasn't home plus pain, the original equation of nostalgia. This wasn't the longing for my wife and our daughter and our dog. This was more like an ache, an artificial ache, a type of nostalgia, a fake nostalgia. 4. Here are some things that could be described as fake nostalgias. Things like the way Ian Curtis, the singer of the band Joy Division, frantically dances. He makes me long for rainy days in Manchester, but I've never experienced a single rainy day in Manchester. Or the TV show The Wonder Years, which makes me nostalgic for the 60s and suburban life in the US, even though I wasn't alive in the 60s and I've never lived in suburbia. Or the same with La Movida in Spain and the Pedro Almodóvar movies. And some objects, too, that make me yearn for something that I can't quite understand, like plastic-covered furniture, or garden gnomes, lava lamps, and so on. Nostalgia is a tricky business. Yes, we miss the old days, but that doesn't mean we really want the old days back, do we? On top of that, how can we miss something that we haven't experienced, or something that we will never get to experience? 5. Fantomas contra los vampiros multinacionales was one of the books that my parents had in their library. This is a book that gives me true nostalgia and experience nostalgia. Fantomas contra los vampiros multinacionales es la historia de un bibliocidio. Las principales bibliotecas del mundo arden. Roma, Londres, Calcuta, Tokio. Los libros desaparecen y con eso la cultura se desvanece. Pero también con eso desaparece la memoria de la humanidad. Entonces aparece Fantomas. Fantomas, aquel gentleman de capa violeta y máscara blanca que se lanzaba de cabeza hacia el lector y que en ese experimento literario de Julio Cortázar, a medio camino entre el cómic y la novela, salvaba el mundo en una época en que se podía salvar el mundo. Ahora me pregunto, ¿contra qué pelearía Fantomas hoy? 6. Months after my accident, I'm in the living room observing our daughter. She's saying, or I like to think that she's saying, hola, hola. I feel a wave of nostalgia induced by the perfect present. She is rehearsing her first sounds. I decide that I don't want to remember this though, only to experience it. And I try to stay in the moment. It's hard, so I give up. And I record her with my phone. 7. Maybe Fantomas would fight the internet, since the internet organizes and sometimes controls our past. The internet, entonces, like a nostalgia factory. It sells other people's memories to us, and it sells our memories to other people. A nostalgia factory that reminds us the highlights of our past, like my daughter's attempt to say hola, hola. But if the internet is the ultimate nostalgia factory, how is that affecting our past and our future? Are they changing? Is the past, what we miss from the past, a menace to our future? And also, is that even our own past? Are those my memories or someone else's memories?
Flores, un vestido. algo de orden. 1942. Eloísa era de lo que se llama clase media. Ni rica ni pobre, pero más pobre que rica. Todo lo que tuvo parecía una sola arruga, un solo surco sobre la piel de su cara, una sola pregunta que tenía poca respuesta, poca sonrisa. Si le hubieran dicho que había maneras, si le hubieran enseñado, si hubiera aprendido a tiempo. Mujer de clase trabajadora a la edad de 20 años. La serie de imágenes empieza con una fotografía de estudio, blanco y negro, nostálgica como las fotografías a blanco y negro, donde dice SRG, lo que cuenta es, por cierto, el color gris. Mira de frente. Del pecho pende un dije. Podría estar horas sin moverse. Pagó el retrato con el salario de su primer trabajo porque le pidieron fotografía para la credencial. Cuando tiene tiempo, dibuja a Bugs Bunny y a Pebbles Picapiedra y a Pedro Picapiedra. Una familia de clase trabajadora con los roles bien derechitos y asignados. Una familia que también pasa en el futuro en forma de supersónicos. Marido y esposa, descendencia, una robot sirvienta. Una familia, como dicen, modelo. Una familia que Eloísa no sabe si quiere, pero cree que sí. Lo que cuenta es el color gris. Si le preguntaran qué es ser joven, ella, Eloísa, la mujer trabajadora, diría que las caricaturas la hacen llorar. Diría que la juventud es algo que no se piensa y no entendería a tiempo la gracia del chiste. Su clase se llamaba proletariado, pero le empezaron a decir clase media, de cariño y por las dudas, de cariño y porque así la mantendrían contenta. Ella no podía saber su historia entonces. Su posición social en ascenso le diría otras cosas, los cuellos enormes de sus vestidos, la cintura diminuta, las idas al mercado para aprender a hacer tacos de canasta y llevarlos al día de campo. En esta foto, pensar en el futuro es igual a pintarse de rojo los labios, igual a sonreír a la cámara, igual a la ciudad creciente al fondo, igual a la edad correcta para esperar. Las clases han de determinarse en su relación con el capital y no en su relación con el poder adquisitivo. La clase media es un mecanismo de control ideológico que consiste en decirle privilegiados a los trabajadores menos oprimidos y decirles que si se quejan van a perder sus privilegios, que son en realidad una opresión menor, y una clasificación que les dice que no son pobres, porque si lo fueran no tendrían lo que tienen, tendrían hambre. Eloísa dice lo que quiere: ahorrar para comprar un auto, viajar a Acapulco sola, ir a un restaurante de vez en cuando sola, entrar al cine sola. La madre responde, todo lo que sabe es responder. Para nosotras no es posible, hija, la realidad es esta, dice, lo que te conviene es esto, es aquello, es ser eso que no has querido. Flores, un vestido, algo de orden. Primero, una gabardina. Después, una falda, un collar, unas zapatillas, 2 pares de aretes, un perfume de los caros, una visita al Palacio de Hierro, un paseo por las sastrerías del centro. Tomar medidas, elegir los materiales, buscar los botones perfectos, volver en 2 semanas. Eloísa quiere vestirse para la vida que le gustaría tener. El hombre la acompaña siempre, el hombre le presta dinero, el hombre le invita a un café y siempre quiere quedarse otro rato. El hombre mira a Eloísa y él sabe que Eloísa quiere tener aquello que le dijeron que no. Entonces, una deuda que Eloísa no sabe cómo cubrir, una deuda acumulada a lo largo de los meses. 2 preguntas: ¿quieres casarte conmigo o quieres pagar lo que me debes? Ese día, Eloísa aprende todo lo que tiene que saber sobre el amor. Ella ha tenido varios novios y este no es el favorito. Pero flores, un vestido, algo de orden, un marido. La clase media es el resultado de una clasificación matemática de las opiniones de las gentes. Cuando se les pregunta, ¿se siente usted pobre? ¿Estima que puede comprar objetos suntuarios o medianamente suntuarios? ¿Cuántos y cuáles especifique? ¿Cree que valora la cultura y la paz por sobre todas las cosas? ¿Considera que la familia es un valor? ¿Piensa que podrá heredarles un patrimonio a sus hijos? Nadie puede imaginarla cuando niña. Aquí lleva una corona de perlas falsas el día de su boda. Una corona de perlas falsas colocada hacia abajo, que la corona no resalte su estatura, que no se note que el pequeño es el marido. Ella cede, sonríe como si pudiera ser otra cosa. Corona de perlas falsas. En esta imagen, Eloísa sonríe. Un marido, un vestido, flores, orden, algo de orden, un marido. Tómale la cinturita y la manita y que agarre bien el cuchillito. Tómala y sonríale a la camarita. No se te vaya a soltar. Es un pajarito y los pajaritos, ya todos sabemos, a veces vuelan, a veces tienen miedo, a veces existen poco, pero casi siempre se amargan y se van borrando de las fotografías y las familias. Lo bueno es que Eloísa no, o sí, no se sabe. Feliz cumpleaños. Ya luego vendrán los hijos, 2. Eloísa trabaja, usa minifalda. No se ven, pero se intuyen los zapatos de plataforma. A veces sonríe de veras, a veces también es imposible. Otras veces un mecanismo que se traba. No encuentra lo que tiene que buscar, dónde se coloca, dónde se borra lo que habría que decir, dónde están los oficios que Eloísa tendría que tipear. Piensa en la carrera que no ha estudiado. Los niños salieron temprano de la escuela y corren entre los escritorios vecinos. La vida de ser esto, y no podría nunca ser distinto. Mira el reloj de pulso, 7 minutos adelantado al reloj de la oficina. Sonríe de nuevo. Es casi la hora de ir a casa. Ya luego vendrán las hijas, 2. Negociaciones del salario mínimo, inflación y ajuste salarial. Para 1976, con un salario mínimo, 83.13, Eloísa recibía, dicen que 2 o 3, podría pagar diariamente 1.5 kilogramos de tortillas, 300 gramos de frijol, 500 gramos de carne de res, 250 gramos de azúcar, 250 gramos de huevo, 2 litros de leche, 50 gramos de café, 150 gramos de manteca. Y le sobraban 34.44, es decir, que invertía el 48.69 de su salario en comprar alimentos. La explosión inflacionaria que vive el país desde 1982 y que se mantiene a lo largo de los años de la crisis constituye uno de sus rasgos definitorios principales, tanto por sus efectos sobre el conjunto de la población como por el lugar privilegiado que la lucha contra ella, infructuosa hasta el momento, ocupa en el esquema. La lucha privilegiada, ella, infructuosa hasta el momento, la lucha contra ella, el esquema. Hay que aprender a administrar la abundancia, dice José López Portillo, refiriéndose a las ganancias obtenidas por la explotación del petróleo. Meses después, José López Portillo dice que defenderá el peso como un perro. Eloísa escucha, Eloísa lee, la explotación de Eloísa, el petróleo, la explosión de Eloísa. En las vacaciones fantasea con huir a un pueblo. Ignora que luego vendrá el pueblo y no va a poder salir, que va a morirse en un hospital con luces desprendidas y la carretera afuera. El hospital de un pueblo cuyo nombre no imaginó nunca. Escribe una carta diciendo que regresa pronto, pero no tiene un sitio a donde mandarla. Volver a casa es un vagón en un país que va perdiendo los trenes de pasajeros. Volver a casa es un vagón que aguarda a la orilla de la vía y se oxida un poco cada vez que llueve. Como eso que se llama amor, relación estable, matrimonio, familia. Se envuelve en una toalla y aguarda. Todo lo que sabe es aguardar. Él ha salido y ella entiende que no va a volver. No se sabe cuándo fue la última vez que se encontraron. Los recuerdos del marido se convirtieron en falsos cuando él se fue. No se conservan fotografías.
dirt sung,
Done wrong.
a chill, a thought descended away,
Bum clung.
rain, stippled clouds, mosquito is queen, and shame a friend.
Why are we afraid of the earth?
Of the earth.
Why?
¿Por qué tenemos miedo de la tierra? A friend. Terrones plagados. Boca de tierra. Lengua de tierra.
I'm so sick of the first person. I call scream. Moon crumb, moon crumb.
Boca de tierra.
Got malaria once. Moon crumb.
White.
Moon crumb.
Afraid of the earth.
Fever out.
Outside and in. Skin.
Overhead.
¿Por qué tenemos miedo a la tierra? Got malaria once.
Dazzled silt.
Spent the night in an urgency room.
Dazzled silt.
Was dollar deposited down into other fates.
Dazzled silt.
Boca de tierra.
Terrones plagados.
Lengua de tierra.
¿Por qué tenemos miedo de la tierra?
Stippled clouds.
Why?
Mosquito is quiet and shame.
Fever out.
A friend.
Why are we afraid of the earth?
Remember?
Remember?
A friend.
¿Por qué tenemos miedo de la tierra? Hurt body spoke words. Hurt body spoke words. Intimidad es escuchar lo que quieres.
Still processing it. I'm still processing everything.
Just a little bit.
But we want to thank you for being here tonight and spending your night with us.
And let's give it up for these amazing artists tonight. Give it up for our artists. And also thank you to our unseen performers, musical director Andy Slater and musicians Stephanie Alma and Tommy Carroll.
And we have a bunch of other folks to thank for this night. Our fantastic live show managing director, Madeline Nepsit, our video engineer, Ralph Losa, our builder, Mike Drew, and to the live show artistic associates, Esteban King, Zespo, Amanda Goldblatt, Kirsten Lenars, Joel Craig, Daniel Brzezinski,
And of course, the staff member who deserves the most thanks, our founder, Sarah Dodson. She hates this.
She's like, I like that. That wasn't her notes, because she's so humble. But thank you to the Mexican consulate in Chicago and to Ambassador Torres Mendeville for her thoughtful words earlier today. And thank you to the Logan Center crew who made this night possible, especially Joel Daly, Frank Gilbert, and Aaron Brenner.
Thank you also to the National Endowment for the Arts, Illinois Humanities, Vocalo, UIC Center for Latinx Literature of the Americas, to my fellow board members at Make Literary Productions, our many generous partners, grant makers, donors, supporters, and audiences like you who make this festival possible. Please also make sure immediately tonight when you get home, check our website, litluz.org, to find out more information about upcoming programs, including tomorrow's workshop at noon, artist panel at 1:30, reading at 4, and live storytelling event at 6, and
Saturday, there's some workshops still happening, and we have a closing party. Who doesn't like a party, right? So we have a closing party in Pilsen at the Chicago Art Department, so please come celebrate what's been and is still going to be an incredible week of Lit Luz.
And we have a favor to ask. So if you go back to that festival program and that QR code we talked a lot about before the show, please use that to fill out a survey, and your feedback is invaluable. We've been doing this for 9 years, and it's getting the thoughts, the words, the insights from people like you that help us improve, help us offer better experiences for our artists as well as for our audiences. And to thank you for your time, you'll be automatically registered to win the prize from Dark Matter Coffee.
I was just there earlier, and at one of the many Dark Matters, and it's delicious, so I think I'm gonna fill it out myself.
I hope you win, Miguel.
Maybe you shouldn't fill it out, so I can fill it out and I can win. And talking about beverages, just outside of this space, we have drinks. So you are invited to join us in the lobby for our special reception courtesy of Revolution Brewing, Topo Chico, and Del Maguey Mezcal.
And it wouldn't be a Make event or a Lit Luz event without books.
Yeah, we're selling books on behalf of Pilsen Community Books, and I think I'm on book selling duty, so come buy a book from me.
Yeah, grab a drink, buy a book, engage with our audiences, and we'll see you up in the lobby in a moment. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.